Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whenever it is that you've decided to stop by. Welcome to another bike ride and another life lesson. Glad that you've joined me again today. We're just taking a ride on a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. I've said it before, I'll probably say it a million times again. I absolutely love spring. It is my most favorite time of the year. I don't know. I just love it. You may have your favorite time of the year. It may be winter, when it's cold and snowy and icy and all of those things. But my favorite time of the year is right here. It's springtime, and it's just a gorgeous day. Hey, we had some pretty good storms coming through yesterday. As of the time that I'm taping this, came through yesterday, and the St. Louis area got hit pretty hard, particularly around Forest Park. If you're familiar with that area, it's a beautiful area of the city. And as far as I know, as of last night's news report, unfortunately 5 people lost their lives, and there is a lot of property damage. So remembering those folks, praying for them, those who are displaced, those who've lost loved ones to the storm, and just pray God's blessing upon them. Well, today I've got a 2-part series starting today on just the simplicity of faith. Just the simplicity of faith. I think at least I do. I don't know about you, but I tend to complicate things a lot. I make them more complicated than what they actually are. And you ever had one of those days where things just didn't go right? I mean, they just everything just kind of flew apart. You had plans for this or plans for that, plans to do some things outside, plans to go somewhere, do something, be with your family, be with friends, whatever, and all of those plans fall apart. Well, I think that's happened to us, most of us, and we tend to complicate when things like that happen. We tend to complicate things. Don't let this traffic go by me. We tend to complicate things and make them more complicated than what they actually are. And I got to thinking about how I do that. I'm not sure about you, but I do that. I complicate things. And when it comes to faith, for many people, faith is one of those abstract kind of things that, again, we tend to complicate. Faith, when you boil it all down, boil it down to its essence, faith is just the absence of things hoped for. I'm sorry. Let me do that again. Faith is believing in that which you cannot see, as though you can see it. Okay. Faith is believing in that which you cannot see, as though you can see it. So when things come up, things that are unplanned, things that I don't know, just happen. That's where we're called upon to stretch our faith. Okay, I've talked in previous podcasts about stretching that faith muscle, and I believe that I think that's an accurate description of what we ought to do. And so again, looking to Scripture to help us understand the simplicity of faith. Jesus puts it out there. Just so simple. Okay, I don't think life today is more complicated than it was then, given the time frame. I think people back in Jesus' day experienced the same kinds of things that we do, and that's why he talks about the importance of faith. Okay, so he says in Matthew chapter 6, verse 25, Jesus says, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you shall eat or what you shall drink, or what your body will put on. Is not life more than food and the body more than clothes? Now you ask those questions in a rhetorical kind of way. But the essence of what he's talking about is don't worry about your life. When things come up, that's where we have to stretch our faith, right? We have to stretch it. We have to use that faith muscle. I believe it's impossible. This is just me now. I believe it's impossible to worry and fret and be all consumed with what may be and have faith at the same time. I think when we do that, I think when we lack in faith, it's not that we don't have faith, it's that we lack in faith. Jesus said that very same thing to Peter and to the disciples. Look, you guys have faith. He said, oh, you of little faith. Little faith. Okay? So, he doesn't talk about having the absence of faith as like an unbeliever. But he becomes the object of it. Even an unbeliever has faith, right? You have faith in a chair. You have faith in a piece of furniture. You have faith in your car that it's going to get you where you need to go. But the unbeliever, it's the object of their faith. Same thing with a believer. It's the object. In what are we trusting? Okay. So I want to talk about that over the next 2 weeks, particularly with this passage in Matthew where Jesus says, don't worry about your life, what you'll eat or what you shall drink. Now, before I get into what I want to really talk about, let me quickly say that doesn't mean that we sit back in our easy chair and say, well, I'm praying for this or praying for that. No. You need to go to work. You need to supply for your family. You need to do those things that you're required to do. Okay? But there comes those times when, the future is uncertain, and we have to use that faith muscle. So, what do we need to do in order to not worry about our life, what we'll eat or what we'll drink or what we're going to put on? For life is more than food and body more than clothes. What he's saying there is life is about more than the material. Okay? It's more than just trusting the now. So how do we do that? Well, I'm going to give you overall in these next 2 podcasts, I'm going to give you 6 suggestions as to what you and I can do to make faith, the idea, the concept, the practice of faith more simple. Number 1, and this ought to be obvious, we need to trust in God's provision. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 6, all of chapter 6 actually, he says, what are you worrying about? What are you fretting about? God's going to take care of you. It may take some time. It may take some rough spots. It may take some hard seasons to go through, but God's going to take care of you. He says, why are you worrying about tomorrow? In fact, the end of that passage, that whole passage says, Jesus said, don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow's going to take care of itself. You focus on to what or to whom are you trusting? Trust in God's provision. Jesus tells us all through the Gospels, the whole Bible actually, tells us that God's in control of all this stuff. You've heard me talk about that before. God's in control of all of this. There's nothing that happens that God is not aware of already. Okay? You've heard me say it before that where we're going, He's already been. Okay? Where we're going, He's already been. And so we need to trust that God's going to provide. Now, that's more than just a saying, right? That's more than just a saying. Let me pull over here just a second. Okay, let that truck go by. Well, the Lord will provide. That's more than a cliche or just a colloquialism. Okay, well, the Lord will provide. Well, yeah, but do you trust that He's going to provide? Okay? Now again, that doesn't mean we sit back in our easy chair and just let God do whatever He's going to do. No. Okay? We need to be responsible. The Bible all throughout talks about, how you and I as individuals need to be responsible. Okay? Take care of things. But in taking care of things, we need to also trust that God's going to provide. Okay? I could take another hour. I won't, but I could take another hour to explain to you personal experience where God has provided time after time after time after time. There's times where we didn't know, my wife and I didn't know how we were going to pay the bills. When we were in college and struggling, God always provided. He always provided. When we started having, kids, our two sons, wow. And now, and I was still in college when we had them. Now what are we going to do? How am I going to provide going to school full time? My wife working full time to help put me through school. How are we going to provide now for two more little human beings? Okay, but wait for it. God provided every step of the way. God provided. So first of all, trust in God's provision. Second, I think Jesus is teaching us here to focus on the present. Focus on the present. If you and I are okay, now watch this. I'll give you an example. So every once in a while, you'll see me checking my rearview mirrors here. Okay, you'll see me checking them, and that's to be sure of my surroundings. Do I have traffic behind me? But I'm also focusing ahead of me. What I'm saying is that you and I need to focus on what's going on right now. Okay. I think worry often is caused by ruminating on the what ifs, right? The coulda, shoulda, wouldas, the what ifs. What if this? What if that? What if the other? If I always was consumed and ruminating about getting into a bike wreck, I'd never get on the bike. Okay? That's not to criticize anyone who doesn't want to ride a motorcycle. It's just saying for me, if I worried about that all the time, if I was consumed and ruminating about that all the time, then, oh my gosh, I'd never get to enjoy what I'm enjoying now. The beauty, there's some floaters down there, the beauty of God's creation, enjoying the ride, enjoying sharing with you and riding the motorcycle at the same time. Focus on the present. If you and I continually focus on past mistakes, past failures, past missed opportunities, we will miss what's right in front of us. And if I'm focused totally on my rear view mirrors while I'm riding, eventually I'm going to stray into the other lane, and I'm going to have a wreck, or I'm going to run off the road. I can't continually be focused on my two rear view mirrors. Okay? So focus on the present. Appreciate what you do have. Take care of what you do have. Okay? God has entrusted you. I'm a firm believer, and I hope you are too. I'm a firm believer that everything I have comes from the grace and the mercy and just the sheer wonder of God being our Father. It just amazes me. I live on, my wife and I live on a piece of property that has been in her family for 100 years. I'm not a farmer. I don't claim to be a farmer. Don't want to be a farmer. Never did want to be a farmer. But I enjoy living in the country. If you put me in a subdivision now, even in a small town in a subdivision, I think after a small amount of time I'd go nuts. I love being in the country. I love waking up in the morning and being able to go out on the deck and enjoy the morning, being able to, just have the freedom of nobody, right next door to me. I just love that. But I recognize that God has provided that. God has provided the means for me to take care of that property, a lawn tractor, friends to help me out when I need help, those kinds of things. Now, I will grant you that taking care of the property, with it being a century-old house, it has its challenges. But if I focus on the coulda, shoulda, wouldas, the what ifs, I'm living in the past, and that I'm going to miss what's in front of me, the beautiful scenery that's out here. If I'm just focusing on my rearview mirrors, I'm going to miss all the beautiful scenery that's out here. Okay, so focus on God's provision, trust in His provision, focus on the present, and then third and finally for this part one of this podcast, keep things in perspective. Keep things in perspective. Life is about living according to perception, right? Keeping things in perspective. Now, I want you to think about that. So, the camera that I use is a little bit, just, you might be interested, you might not be interested, but the camera that I'm using, the main camera that I use, is a 360 camera. It's 360 degrees. So I'm facing the same way all the time, right? Facing forward the same way all the time. But the camera is providing you different perspectives of this ride, okay? So, you might be looking directly at me at one shot. You might be looking forward at one shot. I've had some shots where I'm looking at the sky, all that, different perspective, but I'm still facing forward. Life is a lot like that. We live our life according to how we perceive it, okay? Sometimes, and I experienced this just the other day, sometimes life it just gets overwhelming. There's so many things coming at us at one time. It's okay. What's priority? What do I need to do now? This is happening and that's happening, and I shared with you earlier. The other day I just had one of those days where everything seemed to go wrong. Everything. No matter what it was, everything seemed to go wrong. Different things that I was trying, different tasks that I was trying to accomplish around the house, everything was going wrong. Nothing worked. Nothing worked out. Okay, nothing. But I kept plugging through. Right, it was frustrating as all get out. My wife can verify that. It was frustrating, but I kept moving forward. Okay, keep things in perspective. I think about those folks that unfortunately got caught up in that tornado, or supposedly, I don't know if they've deemed it a tornado yet, but it certainly has the damage of a tornado that went through the St. Louis area. My little problems that I had the other day doesn't even compare to what those poor folks are going through. That day, we just got, at our house, we just got rain, and wind, some lightning and thunder, but it wasn't all that bad, okay? But then you look at, the St. Louis area there, particularly around Forest Park, and just total devastation. It makes you thankful for what you do have, okay? So life is about perspective. Problems that may seem huge and overwhelming to you when compared to somebody else. Now, I'm not suggesting that you continually compare yourself to somebody else. I'm talking about living your life in perspective, gaining the right perspective. Jesus said in our passage, Jesus said, now this is my own words, right? What are you worrying about? You know, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to take care of itself. Okay? We all have those days, maybe sometimes those weeks, where we all go through whatever. Okay? But what we need to do is remember what really is important. What really is important. Okay? So, when we talk about making faith, the practice of faith simple, we're talking about trusting in God's provision. We're talking about focusing on the present, and we're talking about keeping things in perspective. Okay? So I want you to think about that this week as you live out your life. You know, many schools now are out. Summer vacations are being planned. You know, a lot of things are happening. Camping trips are being planned. But remember these things. Remember, oh, that's cool. Remember these things that when hard times come, when you don't understand what's going on, keep faith and the practice of faith simple. And you will see how God will bless you even during the most difficult of times. Okay? Well, thank you for riding along with me today. It's been a beautiful day, beautiful ride. And we'll pick up with part 2 of this two-part series, The Simplicity of Faith. We'll pick that up next week. So I thank you for riding along. Thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in. And I hope that God will bless you. Pray that God will bless you. And that you, through that, will be a blessing to others. God bless you. Have a great day.